Today, I'm here with Carla Marie, who is the host of the Morning Show podcast, host of the Carla Marie and Anthony Show, and the game day host for the Seattle Seahawks. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Evan. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Thanks so much for being here. So, I was wondering if you could just first tell me about your role and a little bit about what a typical day looks like for you. Well, your roles.
I don't have a typical day, so I'll start with that. The Seahawks job that I have is game day host. So I get to the stadium super early on home games only. So, for example, this Sunday, I have a 7 a.m. meeting at the stadium. We go through the entire run of show, basically everything that's going to happen except the game. So we are a part of game day experience for the fans. So we try to entertain you no matter what's going on the field with the players. And then we run through rehearsals and then I get ready and then boom, we start. So I'm kind of one of the people that welcomes the fans to the stadium on camera, on mic, just on the field, not on TV. My mom's always like, "How do I watch you?" I'm like, "You can't." So it's just in the stadium. And then in between quarters, timeout, stuff like that, we have a lot of, I guess, our client partners sponsor different games or moments, whatever it may be. So if you watch people come down to the field and how can you kick it through the field goal or can you run to the end zone, whatever it is, stuff like that. This Sunday is my favorite thing that we do. It's corgi races. So I will be emceeing the corgi races. So we have local people come with their corgis and they race across the field, and it's the most chaotic, best
Oh,
thing
that's
ever. It
so
makes like
fun.
Sports Center and NFL Instagram. So that's fun. So that is my Seahawks game day MC host job. Then the Carla Marie and Anthony show is a video live stream. I'm coming to you from that studio right now. That I do with my co host Anthony, and we stream live on Twitch 3 mornings a week. It's free to watch. Anyone can check it out. We interact with people via the live chat. It's a lot of fun. We've been on Twitch now for 6 years in some capacity. So that's awesome. Then the morning show podcast, we do 5 mornings a week. It's under 25 minutes and it's everything you need to start your morning. So we give you a quick update on what's going on here in the country, around the world. We play some music games. We basically took a radio morning show because we were in radio and condensed it to 25 minutes, and it's posted by the time you wake up.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's my very long elevator pitch.
Oh, that's great. And I mean the Seahawks job is super cool too because
So
I
fun.
grew up in the when I was a kid I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Oh boy.
Um yeah, back when we were rivals with the Legion of Boom sort of
We
didn't
are
like each
still
other.
very much
Yeah.
that's hilarious. Yeah, no, that rivalry is still here and alive.
That's awesome. And so can you tell me a little bit about your academic background and how that translated to your professional career?
Yeah, fun fact, I was actually a transfer to Rutgers, and I feel like a lot of people don't know that, and I want to get that out there because if you're a transfer, you can still very much be a part of Rutgers University and be a Rutgers student. That was my biggest fear, was like, I'm not, I didn't start here, so I'm not gonna be ingrained in the student body. No one knows that because I bleed scarlet. So, but I was a journalism and media studies major at it was School of Communication, Information, and Library Sciences at the time. So it was skills, not sky. And I was a minor in sociology. And while I was at Rutgers, I worked at WRSU. I was the news director there. And it was, I would say, combined between classes and working at WRSU, those two things really prepped me for going into the real world. Obviously, journalism major. I ended up working in radio. So a lot of what we were learning in our classes was helpful, but physically being at that radio station was the best thing ever because I got a job, internship originally at Z100, and they wouldn't even look at resumes at the time if you didn't have college radio experience. Like you weren't even considered for the internship. Now they look at other things like YouTube channels, stuff like that. But that basically got me in the door, and learning how to edit at WRSU, edit audio, all of that. As an intern, I was editing audio segments that were going on Z100 and going on the nationally syndicated Elvis Duran in the morning show. So between academic and then extracurricular, I was completely set by the time I graduated.
That's awesome. Did you have a favorite professor or favorite class during your time?
Favorite professor would be Steve Miller, and he very much knows this. One of my favorite moments was actually having him come visit us at the radio station because we had a few Steve Miller students at Z100, and we got him on the air, and Elvis talked to him about the impact he has on his students. And I love that man. He is like one of my favorite people of all time. And yeah, he's the best. Favorite class, I'm going to be honest, it was probably the intro to media that he teaches, but I also was a IA or whatever you do your senior year. I forget
Mhm.
exactly what it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
called. So I took the course almost a second time because I was there as a senior, and getting to do that through having having media experience through internship at that point, it was like taking the class with a completely different perspective. And I mean, I would love to go take the class right now with 15 something years of media experience and see how I digest everything. So I really did love that class. I think anyone should take it, media studies or not. It's an incredible course.
That's great. I'm a grad student now, and I took his class, I think the semester before COVID hit and
Oof.
we went online, and I just brought that up to him, a few weeks ago, and he was like, "Oh, that was like eras ago or eons ago
Yeah,
or something." He's like,
seriously.
I can't even believe that." Um, So how do you balance any maybe hard skills? You mentioned, you did a lot of audio editing at WRSU, recording packages and stuff like that, and then also soft skills in your role.
I would say, I mean, in terms of balance, the soft skills kind of I'm sorry, advice wise, it came naturally for me, but I think a lot of it fell in line. So I didn't grow up editing audio, right? I didn't grow up learning how to speak into a microphone. So those hard skills were things that I truly learned at WRSU and then again at my internship. When it comes to the meeting people, interacting with people, that kind of stuff, you do that every day. So if this is a career you want to get into, if you want to be on camera, even be a producer and behind camera, you have to have people skills if you want to be in media. And I don't just mean interacting with people and being able to hold a conversation. I mean being able to command a room to some extent, whether you're on air or a producer. You People need to take you seriously. If you're the one that's like, "All right, let's go. We got to go. 3 2 1." You're a producer in that moment and you need to command the room. So, I think it's just something that I kind of naturally had growing up somehow in New Jersey as an Italian kid. You got to be loud and you got to get your point across fast. But I'm constantly evolving those skills. I'd say a little more than the hard skills at this point, though always learning the technical stuff as it's constantly evolving. But the soft skills, I think you practice day to day. Every once in a while, have to be like, keep in mind you're at an event. Make sure you get this person's name. Make sure you are effectively communicating what you do. Ask them questions. I think that is one of the best things you can do when you are meeting new people that you can then put in your pocket and use in your media career is when you're meeting someone new for the first time, don't just talk about yourself. Ask them questions. So for me, it's kind of like I'm always doing the interview, and that skill of meeting people and doing essentially an interview every time I meet them, I then can use when we have to randomly interview Zach Braff for a new movie he's coming out, whatever it may be. And just basically be an effective communicator day to day and it'll pour over into work.
When was the moment where you felt like, oh, I really want to do radio?
Oh, wow. So I knew I wanted to do radio when I was a kid. I would drive to school in the morning with my mom. Well, she would drive. I would be getting a ride to school. And I remember listening to Elvis Duran in the morning show on Z100. And I said, I want to do that when I grow up. I was 10. And my mom said, I mean, yeah, you love to talk. You can do whatever you want. And that was really it. But I also loved TRL Throwback on MTV. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to go into radio or TV. I kind of had a love for both. I also loved magazine writing. There were a few different things for me. So when I was at Rutgers, I had been living on College Ave my first year there, and I was deciding between WRSU and RUTV. And I knew RUTV was much more of a process at the time to get in and work there. And this is one of the most embarrassing things I'll admit of how I got into radio. I said, yeah, I don't want to take the bus to Bush. I'm just going to work at WRSU and walk across the street. And that is how I ended up really going into radio and
Wow.
not TV.
What was the biggest obstacle that you've encountered in your career, and how were you able to overcome that?
So, biggest obstacle 100% would be getting let go in July of 2020. I had been in radio at that point, if I count my internship, for 11 and a half years. Same company, iHeartMedia, different job. So I had worked at Elvis Duran in the morning show as a producer there. Then my coworker at the time, Anthony, and I got our own morning show here in Seattle. So we moved across the country from Jersey and we hosted the Carla Marie and Anthony show. And we did that for almost 5 years in different capacities. They had us on mornings on a pop station, put us on a different pop station, all same company, Radio Chaos. That'll be a whole nother conversation one day. And then in July 2020, they were like, "Hey, we're making some programmatic changes here and we have to let you go." And it was such a gut punch because I had put 11 years of my life into this one company, into this one career. Really, I had only done radio other than some, side things, obviously podcast, things like that. And I put, 12-hour days into this, all of that, sacrifices, moving across the country away from all your family and friends, missing events because you have to work with your family, all these different things. But I would say leading up to that, we were just not in a great environment. And in that day, I literally turned to Anthony and said, we needed this. And it still sucked. You're grieving that this loss of something you've had for 11 years, but also when you're a public figure and you lose your job, it's so different because everyone knows, right? We're getting emails, calls from trade publications that are like, "Hey, can we get a quote?" And it's like, it's wild when you're like, "Oh, I just lost my job and now I have to give you a quote." You're not hearing that
Mhm.
from any of my other friends that are, losing their jobs during COVID. And that was a struggle. It was great that we had each other during that. We're both going through there's no one else in the world going through this exact same thing other than him. And I'd say after a few weeks, I kind of bounced back. I was like, all right, on to the next thing for real. But 2 days after we got let go, we said, you know what? We're just going to do our morning show on Twitch. So we got let go on a Friday and we really bounced back by just saying, okay, Monday morning, we're live. And the people that supported us the whole time while we were on the radio, they were there that next morning.
Wow.
And having that was so, so helpful. And there was still a lot, your ego is bruised. You're trying to figure out how all of this happened. What are you going to do next? How are you going to pay for things? All of that. But knowing there were people that cared and liked what we were doing made everything so much easier.
Well, that's great. You were able to really create a whole community
For
of people.
That is the word. That is the thing that we will always say is we don't have listeners, we don't have viewers, we don't have followers. We have a community, and the people that do consume our content interact with each other. They follow each other on social media. They meet up with each other if they're in their city. It's really cool what we've been able to create this over all these years.
That's amazing. So what advice would you give to aspiring professionals in your field?
Ooh. So a few things. This industry, whether it's radio, TV, or media in general, is very volatile. Very, very, as you can see, you could put all your blood, sweat, and tears into a company and do everything they ask you to do. And then, boom, one day you get let go. So, with that said, I would say keep that in mind that it's okay if you get let go. And this idea that you're going to do one thing for the rest of your life is insane. And I thought graduating college, I thought, oh, I'm going to be in radio and that's it. And it wasn't until early 2020 that I started having these things like, there's like other things I want to do. I don't want to just do this every day for the rest of my life. So it's okay to follow different passions. So yes, obviously pick a major you love and you want to do, but that doesn't have to be the end all be all for the rest of your life. Yes, I'm still in media, but I was telling you how I was a park ranger for Halloween this year. I absolutely love our national parks and would love to work for our national parks in some capacity at some point in my life. So this idea that you're 22 years old, you're graduating, and this is your passion, and that's going to be your only passion for the rest of your life is insane. That's just not the case. You will find other passions, and it is okay to follow them. It is okay to deviate from the path of the major that you chose. I think that is the most profound thing that I can tell you as you're at Rutgers. Now, and one more thing, take electives not in your major. Now, keep in mind, haven't had to choose a single class since 2010, so I don't know how the system works now, but I know there's a point where there are other classes you can take. Take random classes that will help you find your passion. It'll help you refine your skills for media. I took a screenwriting class. I haven't written a movie, but I think of that class all the time and the way it made my brain work. I took it was a different course, not in school communication information, but it was at the time learning. Keep in mind, this is before TikTok and Reels and before YouTube was really even what it was. It was
I
learning
can't
how
even
to
remember
tell
that
a
part.
story, learning how to tell a story through short video and getting your point across through short video. I mean, that class helped me so much because now that's what we do. So Rutgers has all of these different resources in these different areas. Use them while you are there.